Hi everybody, in this lesson we're going to finish up section 6.2 where we are going to cover complementary and supplementary angles, and then we will also talk about congruent angles. Before we get into that then, I just wanted to show you this. I know it says activity, let's ignore that. I'm going to actually demonstrate to you how to do this. So we need to find the values of x and y. And what's making this question a little tricky for us is that since we have two variables, we have to be careful with which angles we're going to use to solve this. We don't have enough information to solve for y right now. If I try to do anything with the 7x minus 10 and the 16y, well, I'm going to be stuck. If I just demonstrate like this, I'm going to be stuck because I can't solve for just x or just y without having the other variable in it as well. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the two angles that have the same variables in them. So right there, 7x minus 10 and 3x plus 130, those both have an x, so I'm going to be able to use those two angles together to solve this. In fact, looking at this, I see that those two are going to make a linear pair. So we should start by adding them together and setting that equal to 180 degrees. Then we are going to combine our like terms, so 7x and 3x will make 10x. Minus 10 plus 130, that is going to become plus 120. And that's going to be equal to 180 degrees. Now we just need to subtract 120 from both sides, and then we will divide by 10. And that's going to leave us with x equals 6. Now that we know x equals 6, we can go ahead and put that into our two angles that we already have. So either we could put it into the bottom one, 6 times 3 is going to give us 18, and then plus 130. We know that that's going to be 148 degrees. And then for the 7x minus 10, we know 7 times 6 is going to be 42. And then 42 minus 10 is 32 degrees. So now that we have that information, we know that 32 degrees and 16y, since they are vertical angles, those must be equal to each other. So we're going to set them equal. Divide by 16, and we see that y is going to be 2. Alright, now we get into the definition for complementary and supplementary angles. So complementary angles, those are going to be two that will add together to equal 90 degrees, and then supplementary angles are going to be ones that add up to 180. Now there's a really easy way to remember which one is going to be which. So I'm going to draw a big 90 and a big 180 here. And your hint for complementary and supplementary are actually in the numbers. If I look at the 9 here, I can draw a C. And I know that that's going to be complementary. Whereas for the 180, if I look at the 8, I see the letter S in the 8. And therefore I know that that is going to be supplementary. So that's the method that I use to remember which one is going to be which whenever we have to answer questions. Okay, so in this we are told that angle ROQ and angle QOP are going to be complementary, and we have to find the measure of x. So that means then that these two angles, angle X and then 35 degrees, those are supposed to add together to be 90. So we're going to do x plus 35 equals 90. We just have to subtract 35 from both sides. And we know then that x had to be 55 degrees. And that's it. Now, for this one then, sorry, I guess some of my text got cut off and that's why I had to change the font there. But in this question then, we are told that these make a linear pair. So in the last video we talked about linear pairs. Those add up to 180 degrees, so these angles are going to be supplementary. So then we can do 148 plus x equals 180. We're going to subtract 148 from both sides, and that is going to leave us with 32 degrees for x. Okay, I want you to go ahead then and answer these two questions. You are given angle R and angle S. You want to first solve them if they are supplementary and then solve them if they are complementary. So go ahead and try that on your own. Pause this video, and when you are done, then we are going to, then I'll show you how to do these questions. All right, so for the first one, since we know that angle R and angle S are going to be supplementary, they add together to equal 180 degrees. So we're going to start with 3x plus 15 plus 2x plus 25 equals 180. Combine our like terms, 2x and 3x are going to make 5x. 15 and 25 are going to make 40. We are then going to subtract 40, and I'm running out of space, so I'm going to move this over. So we're going to get then 5x equals 140, and then if we divide that by 5, let's see, 150 divided by 5 is going to be 30. Whoops, I'm sorry about that. That's going to be equal to 30. So 140 is 10 less than 150, which means that we have to take away 2 from 30. That ends up being 28. Sorry about that. Okay, now we are going to solve the second one. We are told now that these two are complementary. So we know that they're going to add together, but this time it's going to be equal to 90 degrees. We already know from before that the left side simplifies to become 5x plus 40. We'll subtract 40 from both sides. We divide by 5. And this time x was going to be 10. All right, so that was complementary and supplementary, and now we are going to get into congruent angles. So those are going to be angles that have the same measure, and we use this symbol. I think I talked about it in the last video. It's the squiggle that is above an equal sign to show that two angles are congruent. So in this picture, what we should do is we should name two pairs of congruent angles. Go ahead, try that on your own. Pause the video. When you are done, start the video again, and I'll explain how to do it. Okay, when I'm looking at this picture, what I see are these two angles there. And those are both a width of, I guess width isn't the right thing, but they're both 20-degree angles, because I can see 0 to 20 there and then 90 to 110 there. So I'm going to just name these as my first angle pair. We have AOB, and the other angle is going to be COD. And in fact, I'm going to demonstrate what this looks like with the congruent symbol. So there we go. AOB is congruent to COD. Then I see another pair of angles. This one's going to be a little bit trickier, but I see that if we go between those two rays and between these two rays, those look like those are supposed to be the same as well. The first one, 0 to 90. The second one, 20 to 110. So those are indeed going to be congruent because they're both 90-degree angles. They're both right angles. So the first one here is going to be angle AOC. And then the second one is BOD. And there you go. Those are the two pairs of congruent angles. All right, I added in just a little bit here as well. So the definition of perpendicular, it's going to be either rays, lines, or segments that are going to cross and form a right angle. So either if you see that something is perpendicular, you need to know you will always have a 90-degree angle, or if you see the 90-degree angle, you need to know that it is perpendicular. So for this example then, we know that angle 2 is going to be 38 degrees, and we are supposed to find angle 1 and angle 3. I'm going to go ahead and write in the 38 right there. And I notice that we have a right angle for angle 1 and angle 2. So those are supposed to add together. This whole thing here is supposed to be 90 degrees. So to find angle 1, I guess I should have left that. To find angle 1 then, it's just going to be 90 minus 38. And then if we simplify that, that is going to get us 52 degrees for angle 1. Now that we know that that is 52 degrees, then we can go ahead and solve for angle 3. And I notice as well another right angle there for angle 2 and angle 3. So that means that these two are also going to make 90 degrees. And that means then that if we're going to do 90 minus 38 again, well, 52 degrees must be the measure for angle 3 as well. All right, then for part B, what we need to do is we have to name two pairs of rays that are going to be perpendicular. So we know, since all of these are labeled W, V, U, and R, the first two rays are going to be W and U that make a right angle. The picture doesn't appear to be actually right, but that's why we have the symbol there. So we know that W, ray W, and I probably shouldn't label it that way. W and U are going to be one set that are perpendicular. And then the other set is right there, and that is V and R. So that's everything, everybody. Here's the homework again on Sabbath's digital platform. I'm going to mark the questions that I feel are required, and then the ones